Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you my most excited palette by Natasha Denona and my least favorite. This video is basically a ranking video about what I think and consider her worst palette to her best eyeshadow palette, on my opinion. My least favorite eyeshadow palette by Natasha Denona it gotta be the Sendo palette. This palette, I feel like, it's just a nightmare. This is just awful, like awful, seriously. I got this palette when it first released. I was like the lucky one to end up getting the first palette from her. When they shipped this palette, I was very lucky and I got it first. I remember back in the day when I was having my other channel, I reviewed this palette and I got tons of hate because people were like, oh, she's crazy, like it can be, her Natasha Denona formula is amazing, this cannot be her worst formula. And I make a video, I remember I made like 2 videos about this palette. I tried to give it away, nobody wanted. So I just have it here like for, I don't know, to remind myself why I shouldn't continue buying anything from Natasha Denona. You know, this is just, I had this from memory to remind myself that I should never, ever, ever get the $65 eyeshadow palette from Natasha Denona because the quality is very underwhelming and is very, very disappointing. I still feel like her palettes are very, very good and the quality is superior when it comes about the $129 eyeshadow palette or even above that. But something that is $65, I don't think she puts the same passion, the same love, the same affection when she made those palettes for the public. So yeah, this palette is super underwhelming. This is the Sendo palette. It looks like this. I used this palette 3 times. The 2 first time I used it, when it first released it, I got it for review the palette, then swatching it, and I reapplied the shadows. And a 3rd time last year, the shadows are like, this is supposed to be like her best formula from cream to powder. Well, in my opinion, is one of those palettes that are very lackluster. The shimmers are absolutely lackluster, not pigmented. Some of them have trouble trying to show up on my eyelid. This mint color over here, I was super excited when I got this palette. I'm like, oh, that mint color is gonna be everything. No, that was a bit laid down. Her mattes, you know, they had like that wet formula, like cream to powder. In my opinion, I feel like she definitely have better mattes than these ones, you know. They are like, some of them are a little patchy, and that formula, I don't know what is about it, but it's not that great. It's not even that good. For $65, I feel like, I still feel back in the day that I have way better palettes on my collection that were better than this $65 eyeshadow palette from her. So yeah, if you check to Sephora or other sites, this is one of her worst palettes too. So I guess I wasn't that crazy, right? Because I was honest about my review, but a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't like it either. The palette was such a shitty palette because, you know, I was a huge fan of her, but not when it comes about this type of formula, you know. Another palette from Natasha Denona that I didn't like, Choppy palette. As you can see, this one was $129 when I got it. I remember it was my 2nd time on Florida visiting over there. And there was a Sephora, and I went over there with my husband and ended up getting this palette. I was super excited because I'm like, oh look, all these beautiful neutrals with pop colors on the bottom. Yeah, the neutral mattes, they're creamy. Some of them are so pigmented, like this cocoa shade over here, and this one called Sangria. It's very pigmented too. Those shimmer shades over here, they're like top coats. And they were like you basically, in order for them to show better on your eyelid, you need to apply them with your fingers, because if you try to apply them with a brush, you wouldn't pick that much product. These shades over here, in love with this one, is super gorgeous. This green also is beautiful. The blue, you know, it's kind of a choky mess. This blue over here also is nice, but it's not like amazing, you know. So I feel like if you ask me today if this is a palette that it worth, or back in the day it was worth $129, I can tell you, you out of your mind. This palette, it wasn't worth $129 at all. I just feel like, you know, like she gave me all this beautiful formula, you know, with all these amazing palettes, and then when she came with Sendo or with this palette, it's like, what is that, you know? What is the quality? What is, you know, that pigmentation, those shimmer metallic shades, you know? What is, I don't know. There was so much lacking on this palette. I had no idea. I mean, I can't even explain how much these shadows were so lackluster for the price that I paid for this palette. So yeah, this one definitely, you know, in the position number 2. Another palette that I like, but I didn't like, and it's on my 3rd position, is the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. This palette, you can see over here, the packaging is super cute. It was $65, I believe. So I was very skeptical when I got this palette. The matte, they all turn the same on this palette. It doesn't matter if you add this or this or this on your crease, because they all would turn the same shadow. These 2 matte shadows over here, this one is like warmer and deeper than this one, but when you are blending, they turn the same. Some of these shimmers over here, when you apply them on your eyelid, they basically, if you apply them on your eyelid and you're trying to apply like on the inner third or on the end, like one and then the other one, they all turn the same. So this one over here is the same. It's like this cream to powder formula that she's kind of obsessed about, that I don't understand what. Like, I don't understand, like, why, like, how, because she just need to let go of that cream to powder formula, because that doesn't work in a lot of people, including myself, and that's just like a mess. And yeah, this palette, when I got it, I only used it once, and then I reused it again like two times more, just like the Sendo, and I hate it. So, but I still like it better than the Sendo palette, you know. A palette that I wish from the bottom of my heart, I did wish from the bottom of my heart that this palette would work for me, because the shadows are very pretty, and I love cool tone shadows. I feel like they look so amazing on my warm skin. I'm obsessed with Viva and Pomegranate cool tones, and I was like, okay, this one is gonna work amazing too, right? This is the Glam palette by Natasha Denona. Anastasia Beverly Hills also had a, a sultry palette that is like cool tone. For some reason, these shadows doesn't look well on my skin tone. I don't know what is about it, but the shimmers, they're okay, but the mattes are like, they make me look like, I don't know, they just don't look well on my eyelids, and I don't know what is about it. Some of the mattes are great, even when they don't look good on my skin, like they're pigmented. I just feel like those shimmers, you know, some of them are very beautiful, but some of them are very lackluster, in my opinion. So this is a palette that is just, for more than I tried from the bottom of my heart, and I tried to use it so many times, it just didn't work for me. And I think it's just because of my skin tone and the color selection, I don't know. But if you pair them with another palette, they might work, but still they're very like, in my opinion, it's just not a great palette. So a lot of people love this palette because I'm telling you, cool tones are amazing. I love cool tone shadows. Pomegranate, Subliminal, I think it's Subliminal, and the VGR Cool Mattes, those shadows looks amazing on my skin tone. For some reason, this one, she came with this palette for San Valentine, like, I don't know, I don't even remember. She released this like before the San Valentine, so a lot of people were crazy, including myself, to get this palette on Sephora because I'm like, okay, you know, San Valentine is coming and she's coming with these pink beautiful shadows. This one right here, this is the Love palette, and I don't even remember, I think even before, way before the pandemic, I think. I was so obsessed, I'm like, I cannot wait to get this palette. Some of these shadows over here, they're like toppers. You know, this one, this one, this one, this one, they're like toppers. You know what toppers are? Like when you had an eyeshadow, when you apply shadow on your eyes, right? And then you add to, they basically eyeshadow that is just like plain shimmer, no color, right? And you just put on top to make your shadow vibrant and shine. Like, you know, it's basically sparkles, no color. So this over here is four shadows I like that. It's like no percent. Basically it's tiny sparkles. Nothing is like that. Some of these mattes are patchy. Some of these shades over here are very luster. I was very in love with that silver because silver is my favorite color. In my opinion, this wasn't a great palette at all. It wasn't. Yeah. And I think if I could declare, if I had to declare like my collection on Natasha Denona, all the palettes so far that I've been showing you until this point, I will declare them all, including the next one that I'm going to show you. And this one is the Natasha Denona Retro palette. I was so excited about this palette. I'm like, okay, here we go again with the cream to powder formula, you know. This palette is so pretty. I was like, I feel like a little bit Anastasia Beverly Hills, Modern Renaissance vibe, you know what I mean? It's just a different formula. Yeah, this shadow, they like cream to powder formula, so they always look on the pan and the palette wet, and I don't like it. The shimmers are so beautiful, but they have tons of fallout. You have no idea. You need to use your finger to apply this shimmer because if you use a brush, it's gonna end up everywhere. And let me tell you, I did use my finger so many times trying to reapply these shimmer shadows, and it doesn't matter. They will always, always, always tons of fall off. The kickback was outrageous. Some of the shadows kind of turn the same on the crease. Yeah, this palette is very good. I think it's better than the other ones I show you until this point. But if I had to declutter part of my Natasha Denona collection, I would declare all these ones that I just show you until this point because it's just like the quality is not there. You didn't invest this money, but the quality is not there. It's not super. It's not super. The pigmentation is not super. The quality, it's just the shadows are so not worth it, in my opinion. And well, now I'm gonna start showing you my favorite palettes from Natasha Denona. So the first one is the Lila palette. This palette, when she came out with this palette, I love purple shadows. I was like, okay, this is gonna look great on my eyes, like obsessed. And she got some cool tone shades over here, so I was like, okay, very, very excited. The mattes are like butter. They blend so well and they're so pigmented and vibrant. This palette was $129, and in my opinion, it's still not 100% worth it because some of those shimmers you can apply them with brush. I remember trying with every brush on my collection and I couldn't get any payoff on my eyelid. And I was like, what the hell is going on? So then I started using my finger, right? And even with my finger, I wouldn't get anything. I remember back in the day. So I remember went to Amazon. Yeah, I went to my phone and started going through Amazon and ordering like those sponge tea applicator. And I start basically scrubbing the shadow. So then I applied them on my eyelid, and that was like the only way to make these shimmer shadows to work. They're very beautiful. You just need to scrub them with a sponge tea applicator. If you use your finger, you're gonna get color, but not like that pigmentation, you know, or like that much product. But the mattes are amazing. So yeah, this is definitely a very good palette. I just feel like it's not worth $129. I'm gonna show you a very good palette that I feel like it's very, very nice. This is the Natasha Denona Circle palette. I love the packaging, it's super cute. I love colorful eyeshadows. In my opinion, they're so beautiful. I love all this palette. All these shadows are amazing. My only complaint with this palette will be that this shadow over here is very, very patchy. And sometimes it's very hard to blend this matte shade over here. So I guess the reason why she bought you this light pink, baby pink, is to blend that shade over here. Other than that, the palette is gorgeous. It's super beautiful, very pigmented, very vibrant, and I just feel like this one definitely worth $129 in my opinion, because it's amazing. The formula still is not that great, but still the palette is amazing. The shadows are amazing. They blend so well. So I'm going to show you the Star Palette by Natasha Denona. This one was $169 when I got it. I remember how crazy I was about the shadows, because I'm like, Christmas is coming and I cannot wait to apply those shimmer shadows, like full of sparkles. Like my eyelid is gonna be vibrant and amazing. And oh, don't even get me started. The mattes are amazing. You got warms, you got cool tones. I love the mattes. They blend so well. They're so pigmented, so vibrant. My only concern with this palette will be this shadow over here and this one over here. It had tons of fallout. You can apply even a glitter glue and you will still, when the couple of minutes later after you apply your makeup and everything, with shadow everywhere. For some reason, they transfer everywhere. They dance all over your face. I mean, by the time I was out and I was just like, I remember like 30 minutes away from my home. I left the house 30 minutes later after leaving my house. Those sparkles were on my forehead, on my hair, everywhere. Yeah, I remember people saying to me, like back in the day, like, you are so shiny, you full of sparkles. I was just so embarrassing. I'm like, I know it's my shadows. Today, she's still in the spotlight, you know? She's everywhere. I was just like, yeah, these shadows, they're a big no. The rest of the shadows are amazing, very pigmented. This shadow over here is very beautiful. MAC Cosmetics had a pigment that I'm gonna put you here on the video that has this shadow. And I feel like from all these shadows over here, this one is my favorite. And that's the MAC pigment that I do own. Once I find the name, I will have it in the video or in the description box. Other than that, over here, everything is so great too. Just those two shadows are the issue. But I mean, this palette is beautiful. A lot of people hate it. I don't hate it. I think I love the palette. I really love it. I just don't like those shadows, you know. But other than that, I feel like it's a great, great, great palette for sure. You can see it right there. I don't even make you swatches of those palettes because, especially that palette, because it's going to be everywhere, those sparkles. And I already have sparkles in my hands. Another palette that she released that was $65 is the Sunrise palette. I got it on Beauty Leech. I was so excited when I got it. I'm like, oh my God, those shadows are calling my name. Such a beautiful palette. And very happy with this palette, you know, very, very happy. My only complaint will be the shimmer. Some of the shimmers are like toppers, you know, just sparkles, no colors. Like it shows colors there, but when you apply them, it's like, what is it? Like, it's just like plain sparkles, plain shimmer. The palette is beautiful. I really like it. Some of those yellows, especially this one, kind of disappear a little bit. I don't mind. A lot of brands they don't get like the right pigmentation or yellow, you know. So, but I think it's a beautiful palette for sure. Sunrise. This is a favorite. This is the Viva palette. Super beautiful palette. Let me tell you. Let me show you. Mine came weird. This one, the Safari palette, came like with this noise. I don't know. I guess when they ship the palette or something. Maybe, you know, the carrier like smacked the boss around the truck. I don't know why I was driving, something like that. It makes like the squeaky noises ever. The shimmers here are super stunning. This is a beautiful palette for every day. I love those cool tone shades. In love with those neutral warm shades. In love with this palette. Definitely a favorite. This shadow over here, again, the same formula. Cream to powder. I don't like this shadow at all. I don't use it because I'm scared to use that shadow because it always looks wet on the pants. Almost like somebody took water and just poured it there. Always look wet, and I was scared that the shadow is going to grow mold, you know what I mean? Because it always look like I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like, look. Like I don't touch and look at how it looks. It looks wet and I hate it. I was scared of that shadow. Other than that, this is a gorgeous palette. I totally recommend it. I think this is one of her best formula too. Very, very nice. A very beautiful palette that I didn't have the chance so much to use it. And I really love it. Is this one called Eyeshadow Palette 10. I got it like a couple years ago and I only used it twice. This is all shimmer shadows. They're so metallic, they're so beautiful, they blend so well. This formula is one of her first formula that she came out. It's like the best of the best. Super pigmentation, super formula. Really in love with the shadows. Stunning. And yeah, I wish you use more of this palette, but you know, I use it like most of the neutral basically because I do have colorful shadows that are shimmers and they're very beautiful in other brands, and I don't use it that much like the colorful shades, but this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. She still sells this palette in her website, and I think Sephora also have it. It's amazing. Really, really love it. It's one of her best formula out there. This is the Sunset palette. It was $129. It was also one of her first one. It was also one of her third palette that she came out, third or fourth palette that she came out. I think it was the third one. Shimmers are stunning. This is a warm neutral palette, and I love the shimmers. I love the mattes. Super pigmented, beautiful for every day, for fall. I love to use these colors on summer too because you know it has so many beautiful shades. The pigmentation is amazing, super. I love this palette. So gorgeous. One of her best palette. In my opinion, I don't have any issue with this palette at all. I love those dark shades to creating depth on my outer V. I love some of the shadows for the outer, for the inner tierra. I love those, like, you know, those bronzy gold shades, like for the eyelid, sometimes for the inner tierra too. The yellow shade is not like super pigmented, or it is pigmented, just like you wouldn't get like that true yellow, you know what I mean? But it's still, when you blend it with the shadows, it looks amazing. You could create the most stunning look. Really, really love this palette for sure. This palette is so gorgeous. She got inspired on New York City to make this palette. This is Metropolis, and I'm going to show you. It looks like this. The shadows are so gorgeous, like super, super beautiful. I feel like the mattes are so amazing. They blend like butter. Some of these shimmer shadows, they kind of turn the same on the eyelid. I don't understand why is that. But once you start applying the eyelid, it's better if you apply one. Because if you do apply like two of those gold shades, they kind of turn the same. And that's kind of disappointing. But still, this is a gorgeous palette and the quality is stunning. I am in love with this palette. I know she discontinued this palette. This is Safari. It also has the same noise than the Viva palette. This is a Safari. I love this palette so much. What can I say? The shadows are so beautiful, so beautiful. I am in love with this palette because it's all matte and the pigmentation is stunning. It blends so well. A lot of people were complaining that some of the shadows like turn patchy. What I found out after trying this palette several times was like you do not mix the cool tone shades with the bottom shades and these shades over here in this aisle. So you wouldn't get like a, you know, like a hot mess on your eyelid. Other than that, this palette is amazing. I love it. I love it. It's one of my holy grail eyeshadow palette, and I wish she bring this one back so a lot of people can try it, because I know I received a lot of hate back in the day, and that's why she discontinued. But it was because of those cool tone shades. Other than that, so in love, so in love. I still love those cool tone shades. I just love them mixing it with other shadows, no, with these ones on the bottoms, you know, if you know what I mean. Okay, the next palette is the Trichrome eyeshadow palette. This palette is stunning. I love it. I know when this palette came out, a lot of people were upset because, you know, they were expecting that these duochrome shadows will be like super pigmented, like it would be almost like pomegranate, you know, Divine Rose. But it wasn't the case. The shadows over here, they're very subtle. You apply them on your eyelid, and yeah, you do get that duochrome effect, but it's in a very, very light sort of way. The mattes are amazing. They're like butter. They blend so well. They're so stunning. I love this palette. I swear. I don't really care about these 3 shades over here because I do have Divine Rose by Palma McGrath, which is my favorite, like, multi-chrome shadow, you know. The mattes, stunning. In love with this palette for sure. Beautiful palette. Now I'm going to show you my 3 last Holy Grail eyeshadow palette, and it has to be this one, the gold palette. I wish she bring this palette back so that people can get to put their hands on the shadows, you know, because the quality is super stunning. But I think the idea of her to get rid of the gold palette is because she's probably gonna like be doing those, like, you know, those like 5 little shades in those tiny little palettes that she sells for $25. So, you know, it's a big ripoff because when you buy those palettes, they come 5 shadows, and most of the time 1, 2, 3 shadows are like crap, and they're only like 2 or 1 that is like better. So yeah, stay away from those $25 eyeshadow palette, believe me. If you do want to try the real Natasha Denona formula, you need to go like to the bigger palette, which I mean like the most expensive one. And I'm sorry, but that's true because that's where her real quality is, you know what I mean? She put a lot of work in this type of shadow. She doesn't put so much work on the $65 eyeshadow palette. Either way, the $25, she just, you know, she just want to try to, with that pigmentation and the quality of those tiny little shadows, I feel like it's a big ripoff. Seriously, they're so not worth it in my opinion. I have some of them, and because I have some of them and I compare them with the quality of this formula over here, oh, they're very far away, very far from this texture, this pigmentation, this quality, you know, like nothing to do with this one. Anyway, this palette, I wish she bring it back, but that's gonna happen. She's just gonna try to make those again, those tiny little palettes for $25. The mattes here are amazing. Oh, in love with the shadow. I found a dupe for the shadow by a brand that I had on my makeup collection. It's called Touching Soul. Touching Soul, I believe that's the brand. I had the same shadow. That one I got as a pigment on Sephora back in the day, and it was like, I think it was like 25, like the big jar of that pigment, I believe, from the brand Touching Soul. Well, it's the same shadow. I swatched them both hands by hands, and they're the same shadow. So I was like, oh, this palette is so beautiful. Like, I would like, you know, to have a backup because I love these shimmer shadows. They're so amazing. And I don't care so much about the matte. I care more about, you know, you can see it. I care more about the shimmers over there. You can see, especially this one over here. But yeah, the truth is, like, I'm so happy that I found the perfect dupe. Like, I feel like looks like Natasha Denona, for example, grab that pigment and kind of put it here and, like, you know, impress it because it's the same. Other than that, this palette is absolutely stunning, amazing. I love it. It's one of my holy grail, my favorite. And I use more this palette. I use this palette more for the pigments. I mean, for the shimmers, shadows, the metallics, not so much for the mattes. Okay, my last 2 palette. This one is what is the name? Greens and Brown. This is the 28 eyeshadow palette by Natasha Denona. And as you can see, obsessed with this palette. I use it all the time. What can I say? This is my holy grail eyeshadow palette. I love it. The mattes are so, like, natural, beautiful. They blend so well like butter. Those shimmers, metallic shades are so stunning on the eyelid. You have no idea. This is like the perfect palette if you do have like green eyes, brown eyes, black eyes. This palette will look amazing on you. I really love how warm and neutral and kind of cool tone is. If you got a little bit of everything here, this is definitely one of those palettes that are so stunning. I love this palette so much, but I'm always very scared to travel with this palette because if it get heat, there will be powder everywhere, believe me. Yeah, really obsessed. The comes 28 eyeshadow in both of these ones, and she sells this palette very pricey. Sometimes I feel like no palette in this world, no palette in this world deserve to have that type of price tag. I feel like even when the shadows are amazing, I just feel like that's way too much money for an eyeshadow palette, you know what I mean? They look stunning and everything, but I don't feel like it worth that kind of price that she has, you know. Anyway, this is the other one. This is purple and blue. It's so pigmented, so beautiful. I'm going to show you. This one is a new one because I had an old one in the past, and after 4 months of purchasing that palette, it went really bad. The mattes wouldn't be showing up on my eyelid. The shimmers wouldn't be working. It didn't work, so I was like, what happened to my palette? It kind of died. So I contacted Sephora, and Sephora replaced my palette after, you know, several tests on my palette. They realized that they didn't know why my palette basically, the formula died after 4 months of purchasing the palette. They had no answer for me, so they ended up giving me a new palette. This one is brand new. Since I got it, I didn't use it. It's been sitting on my vanity. I still remember my old palette. Those 4 months what I have it. The formula, amazing, stunning. Then I found out later that she changed her formula. So this is like a different formula. So I'm kind of scared to use this one, I gotta tell you. Because I know it's gonna be powder everywhere. Because the lady at Sephora, we did a couple tests. And yeah. But eventually I will use it, I will try. Maybe I will make a video one of these days, like testing this palette, you know. But yeah, this is her best formula. And I feel like these ones, the ones that I show you, are like her best palette, because the first 4 or 5 palettes I show you about her, they're really, really sucky palettes, like this sucks. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Let me know which one you own and which one like you've been trying from Natasha Denona, like which one's your favorite. See you in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.